That's what he needs to do. Stay ready.
Let me rephrase.
Stay ready.
Why is he out of the rotation?
Because I said so.
The thought of how you handled Lauri's minutes with that long gap he had.
Yeah, well, I played him more in the first half. I played him almost the whole first quarter. I looked at him and I thought he was breathing pretty hard in that first quarter, so I gave him a little break and then I got him back in there. Nothing, you ride with some guys for a little bit, you see how it goes, you bring them back. It's just basketball.
Do you see how that could inhibit his confidence though? Because he's playing his best basketball for the last 2 weeks, and then he gets benched for 14 minutes and 47 straight seconds, and there's not a lot of rhythm there. Do you see how that could be hard on him and his confidence?
I mean, are you saying it is hard on him, or are you saying how it could be, or what?
Well, I'm saying I think it could be hard on him.
Yeah.
We gotta go talk to him still, but
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Guys, I know what you're thinking. Are we really, as Bulls fans, still talking about Jim Boylen? Didn't we fire this guy already? Isn't he irrelevant at this point? Well, yes, that's true. But I actually received this request from a couple subscribers, I believe it was in the Discord chat, where they wanted to see a video on why Jim Boylen was trash as a coach. And I thought, okay, well, do I really need to draw more attention to this guy than he already deserves? So I held off on making the video. But then after last night's game and the adjustments Billy Donovan made and how the team responded after said adjustments, unlike what we saw last season, and then Casey Johnson also released this article last night on Billy Donovan's roster adjustments to the second half and how that was purposeful, not patronizing, which was a great article, by the way. I recommend you check it out. But at any rate, I figured, okay, maybe it's time to make this video. So what's going on, everyone? You are listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. So in last night's game, when the Bulls had a horrible first half in which they fell behind by 25 points, Billy Donovan came out to start the third quarter with a different lineup from those who started the game. And I didn't mention this in last night's recap video because I think I was just a little, hyped after the game and wanted to get the video out as quickly as possible. But what Billy Donovan did is the difference between what a competent coach does versus one that doesn't know what the hell they're doing. In case you missed it, in the second half, Billy Donovan decided to sit Kobe White, Patrick Williams, and Wendell Carter Jr., all of the Bulls' young players, and went with the more experienced players in Satoransky, Valentine, and Thaddeus Young. Now, normally players that are benched like that, they can take it a little personally, and it can impact their confidence overall. But rather, the guys responded well. They didn't take it personally because, quite frankly, they knew they likely didn't deserve to start the second half based on the way they had played in the first. When they got back onto the court, they hustled, played with energy, played with effort on defense. That was the key, playing with effort on defense, and got the Bulls back into the game. And if you caught any of the post-game interviews from the players, and I won't quote all of their remarks, but each of them reacted positively. Now, I'm sure it helped that the team came back and actually won, but they all responded by saying it was a learning experience for them, that they have to come out and play harder, and if they don't, they won't see playing time on the court. I mean, that's pretty basic stuff in the game of competitive basketball. Now, I can say with an almost absolute certainty, this Bulls team last season under Boylen would not have responded well to something like this, and would definitely not have come back after being down 25 to win this game. I don't care against what team it is. If you remember from last season, Boylen kind of pulled a similar move that Billy Donovan did last night. Well, a little bit different, but there was a game when he first became the head coach where he took out all 5 starters at once and replaced them with the second unit. And the guys did not take well to that at all. And that's because Jim Boylen was a patronizing coach, a guy that players did not respect, and a coach who thought he was so much more knowledgeable about the game of basketball than he actually was. Of course, in that game, the Bulls ended up getting killed despite Boylen's weird attempt at sending a message to the starting lineup to get their act together. Now, I'm not saying Billy Donovan is the best coach ever or that he's even one of the top coaches in the league, but I think it's saying something based on everything that players are saying in their interviews, whether it's after a win or a loss, all of the positive things they say about his coaching style and the respect that they have for him. And maybe their expectations have been lowered so much because really anyone is better than Boylen at this point. But no, I think Billy Donovan is a great coach. I'm not saying he's the best, but he's a respectable coach and a much better coach than really we've had for the Bulls since Tom Thibodeau in 2015. Now let's talk about Jim Boylen and why he sucks. So, in those initial clips that I included at the beginning of the video, the cockiness, the arrogance from Jim Boylen and how he spoke to the media, which, to be fair, the media can be pretty annoying sometimes, but spoke to them in a way like he didn't deserve, their respect, and that he knows the game of basketball better than anyone. No, whether he actually truly felt that way or not, and that he knew basketball better than them, there is still an element of respect and professionalism you show when engaging with the media as a head coach, right? Sometimes we see that from the players in sort of just short, quick answers to the media, but these are head coaches. There's a sense of professionalism that they need to be able to maintain with the media. And when you display that kind of behavior to them, the players take note of that. And they in turn, they quite frankly don't respect you as a result. I think the problem with Boylen is that he thought his tough guy attitude, not only just to the media, but to his players, would somehow impress the players as if, he doesn't take any crap from anybody. Kind of like how Greg Popovich operates. The difference is Pop has earned that respect. He's been a head coach in the league for over 20 years, multiple playoff appearances, 5 championship rings. And because Boylen was an assistant to Popovich, he felt he could replicate that type of behavior. But Boylen was a first-time head coach in the NBA, hadn't proved anything to the league or to his players, and just felt right away he would just gain the respect from his players because he was an assistant under Pop. On top of that, personality aside, because I think we can all agree that Boylen was someone hard to just like and respect as a person based on his behavior. But sometimes coaches might not be the best in terms of the overall personality, but are actually incredibly smart and very well versed in the game of basketball and understand how to play players to their strengths and structure the offense and defense to ensure the team's performance to its maximum potential. You could even say a guy like Tibbs, maybe not the most relatable guy, could oftentimes come off as a jerk, but he knows so much about the game, especially in terms of coordinating defensive schemes. Even Joakim Noah, there was a quote, I believe, from him back in the day where he stated something along the lines of, I would really hate you if we weren't winning, and how much the game of basketball makes up for the way that you work us to death. Because Tom Thibodeau was a hard-nosed, tough-minded coach that worked his players hard, but he had their respect. Boylen had none of that. He wasn't one of those coaches that was kind of an ass but a great X's and O's type coach. He was just a bad coach when it came to running an offense on the court. His rotations were poor. He didn't utilize the players to their fullest potential. You saw that in Markkanen, and that Boylen just wanted to use him as a spot-up shooter. He utilized Thaddeus Young horribly in not giving him enough minutes and not using him in the offense, and his ability to facilitate and play make, which Thaddeus has expressed his displeasure on to the media multiple times and how things were going last season. He structured the offense around heavy isolation plays for Lavine, which, as we know, Lavine is much more capable of in terms of doing other things and getting his teammates involved than just hero ball isolation that he was used to playing under Boylen. And of course, he just used Kobe White as a scoring spark off the bench and did nothing to assist in his development as a playmaker and doing other things than just scoring, which is obviously now an issue and something that Billy Donovan is trying to fix. The other thing about Boylen is that, unlike a guy like Fred Hoiberg and some other bad NBA coaches who had success at the college level, is that Boylen wasn't even a successful college coach. The only mild success he had as a head coach was when he was coaching Utah, with his first 2 seasons coaching that team when their current roster had been recruited from the previous head coach. Once those players either left for the NBA or they just graduated, the team fell off back to being one of the worst teams in the Mountain West Conference. This was before they joined the Pac-12, and he was fired in just his 4th season coaching. That was his only other head coaching experience throughout his whole career he had, was just those 4 years coaching Utah. Obviously, aside from his brief head coaching stint with the Chicago Bulls. Other than that, he's always just been an assistant coach. It should have been telling that when Boylen interviewed for the head coaching job for the Hornets, I believe it was in 2017, and Michael Jordan turned him down. I love Michael Jordan, of course, but I think we can all agree that he is not a good franchise owner and has made some very poor decisions for that organization. So the fact that MJ said no to Boylen, and yet Garpax felt it was a good idea to bring him in in replacing Fred Hoiberg, and not just as an interim coach, but bringing him on permanently, signing him to a longer-term deal, which the Bulls are still, of course, paying for. That says a lot about just some of the other bad decisions Garpax made as a front office. But we're not here to talk about Garpax. I have separate videos about that. The other thing about Boylen that I just could not wrap my head around, in the front office and thinking that this was, he was going to be a good fit to be an NBA coach, was when you listen to him in interviews, and one of them I showed at the beginning of the video. Aside from being kind of a dick at times, I felt more often than not, he just didn't seem like he knew what he was talking about. It was almost like he was trying to fake it until you make it when answering some of these basic questions that he would get from the media. Now, to be fair, I know I've titled this as to why Boylen was the worst coach ever, something along those lines. I haven't quite figured out how the title is going to look like just yet. And that might be a bit harsh because I'm sure there have been worse coaches in the history of basketball. I just can't really think of any that come to mind that were as bad as he was in terms of their personality, their actual coaching abilities when it came to X's and O's, player development, and their overall leadership capabilities in inspiring their players to play their best basketball. I mean, guys like Tim Floyd come to mind for my old school Bulls fans like myself. Floyd was the coach that took over after Phil Jackson, but even Tim Floyd, I don't think his personality was as bad as Boylen's. I'm sure there are other coaches as well, but Boylen is just one of the more recent coaches in the league that comes to mind that I still just cannot fathom how he got himself an NBA coaching job. Let me know what you guys think though. I actually think I'm going to make a poll just for fun in seeing who you guys think was a worse coach between Fred Hoiberg and Jim Boylen. This was actually a hot take from a while back in one of my first hot take videos where a fan felt that Boylen, although a very, very bad coach, was better than Hoiberg. So I would love to hear what you guys think. Be on the lookout for that. I'll come out with a poll for that. The Bulls will be taking on the Sixers tomorrow in their first nationally televised game. It's going to be a tough game for the Bulls, but let's see if they can build on that progress and confidence in coming back after being down 25 in last night's game and see if they can somehow upset the Sixers. I'll have a live group chat for the game here on the channel as well as the Discord, so get those checked out if you're interested. Be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan. I upload daily Bulls content on the channel. Thanks again, as always, guys, for tuning in, and I will catch you in the next one.